CNN News is they're talking again about the Saudi talking about the prince and all that the United States is concerned about the kidnapping of the journalist, and he was worked for the Washington Post. And it says Saudi Arabia vows to retaliate. Trump promises to punish. Well, here we go. I'm sitting here watching all this play out. I watched the minister be brought back from Turkey after 2 years confinement in prison. He got to kneel down. Well, I don't know if he kneeled, but he prayed, and I think he did, perhaps, but he prayed with President Trump. I like President Trump. I hope he proves to be who I think he is, a pretty decent fellow. And he tells the truth if he can get it told about all this. Of course, I'm putting it up on YouTube, Facebook. The media has known, they deliberately have covered it up. And they're talking about ongoing investigation, the Saudis, into the murder of this missing journalist. Trump severe punishment if Saudis kill the journalist. Now, I want you to hate to say, hey, I'm right here. So I'm going to go again on this. Who's it take? I'm going to bring God into it. Everybody else has. Who's it take, God, coming down and intervening in all this? How can the press, controlled by the Illuminati, stand there shamefaced? No, they haven't done anything wrong. Their hands are all clean. Way back, they knew this when my dad, Edward VIII, was taken down illegally. He was married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, school teacher, American from Madison, Wisconsin, moved to Williamsburg, Virginia, and the O'Keefes did. Now, she married my father, Edward VIII. He never married Wallace Simpson. It was a takedown, a character assassination. I'll say it over and over again. Now then, why hasn't the press told you this all along? Ongoing investigation was a letter I got from the FBI June the 23rd, my father's birthday, by the way, in 79. I'd written a medical malpractice book. I ran in a campaign later in 83. I wrote about Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald, about mind control, about murders at the hospital Piedmont, where Larry McDonald family were very prominent, and he was a urologist. You get a Dr. Hardiman in it. On it, you get Jean Strokerman was killed in Dr. Hardiman's office. She was shot and blown up against the Christmas tree on Christmas Eve. So you get a lot of other stuff involved there, like why was Hardiman talking to my husband or ex-husband, whichever he's supposed to be, just prior to them almost killing me, April Fool Day of 80. So why am I babbling on, if that's what you call it? And a lot of people will call me every name in the book, rather than a good-hearted person who the crimes, I'm the victim. I was kidnapped from Buckingham Palace. My father was taken down illegally, never married that American spy. She married a double, and they sold out Great Britain. And I am appalled when I watched just a bit, all I could stomach, of HBO, I believe it was. Was it on public broadcasting? No, it was on HBO. Channel, where they had Elizabeth again today, and they tout her as being this beautiful, well, you can afford to be articulate and everything when you're not the real monarch. You're fake. You're a war criminal. You should be tried a long time ago for war crimes. She's known about my kidnapping, and if she doesn't know about how I grew up, she does, of course. And what's happened to me, it's her fault, not mine. She's got everything that was mine. She's living in homes that were mine. If you want to go by the monarchy and the inheritance, I'm the real monarch the day I was born. My father was taken down illegally. There were proper papers signed and everything. Now, I'm listening to this about the minister was brought back. He was in Turkey, had been held by the Turkish government, hostage. Now, and the United States says, Donald Trump said that the United States doesn't pay hostage money. I'm not saying anything against Donald Trump. Get that right now. I hope he's a good guy. But I know that my father and mother, I know that the British paid and paid through treaties, illegal treaties that were signed by George or are allowed to be signed, all kinds of things, helping maneuver and get, how do you think NASA in Huntsville was built? Ironically, the dates are that I was kidnapped and brought to Moulton, Alabama in 41 at age 2, and here in 1956, NASA is starting to blossom and bloom there in Huntsville, which is 40 miles away from Moulton. And you've got an honorable man, and this is what just kills me. They've made heroes out of the crooks and the killers. Von Braun was a beautiful man, and it kills me to hear the lies about him, just like lies about my father. And while people stand and worship this woman, calling herself Queen Elizabeth II, which is a total lie. She represents the Illuminati that kidnapped me and took down my father and helped do what they've done to my children and me here in the States here. And to they took over everything. Everybody's brought together under the UN, which is the Illuminati. They do what the Illuminati says. Elizabeth works for them. And what else can I say? I was watching and hoping that some of what's going on now would lead up to telling about me, my real name, and all of this. What do you think I am here? I can't go back to the UK. The birth certificates I have to use is of the dead twin, Peggy. And the state, ironically enough, who do you think told me all this? The Brits did. The average British citizens are the ones who paid the price and gave about me and my dad and my children. Now, that's the short and the tall of it all. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Excuse me. Well, I did forget. But anyway, the Brits are the ones that told me. I would never have known. I found out at Larry Flint's when I ran in a political campaign. It wasn't just finding out that. You want to verbally tell you. In essence, they have over the years. It was like putting a piece of puzzle together. So I've put all that up the best I can. But the Brits told me. I've been at the embassy, and I don't want to hurt someone that has tried to help me. And all I can say is the Brits were on the Appalachian Trail when I starved and froze. There were, there were people from other parts of the country too, and some Americans, and I guess that's all I'm going to say. There were Canadians, French Canadians, and they were very nice. I remember, and it made me kind of happy that they took offense because that meant they really did care. It was really cold, and Cornelius, cold. Oh, wow. And I guess it was the last that had come through going south. And they were from Canada and French Canadians. And I don't know what I said. I didn't mean to. I didn't realize they were in there too trying to help me. And they let me know that they were there, that French Canadians were on my side. So anyway, excuse me again for tears when I feel some pain in caring. That's when I cry. My children, my country, and the people here that have helped me. There's some, but as a whole, they just like to pretend, oh, that's nuts. If they don't like what they're hearing, they just, well, let's play the crazy card. Well, since I said that, I want to say this again before I get off here. I want to go back to O.J. Simpson. I could tell you what happened there, but hey, I've told it, most of it, over and over again, over since 2012 on Facebook, 2013 on YouTube. Uh, O.J. Simpson was mind control murder. Um, and I think it was his nephew worked for the Los Angeles Police Department, and he tried to tell the public that he didn't use the word mind control, but that to an extent, he did say that. He tried to tell you, and he was trying to say that he dreamed it or something, but this is part of what mind control is. They do it at a low level. You think they ask your permission to put you under mind control? Heck no. Do you think the what was his name, Paddock, of the Los Angeles shootings, you think they asked his permission to chip him? And then they autopsied his brain to see if they could find the motive. They should have asked or looked for a chip in a root canal is a good place to look, or buttocks, like they put it in, oh goodness, it hurts because it's so sad, the Oklahoma City bombing. And well, for goodness sakes, I just looked at the piece of paper I have on him. Anyway, he said the Army, U.S. Army, he was in the U.S. Army, and they put a chip up his buttocks. So this is what I'd been writing about. And back in 76, mind control and curing illness are created. And I hear these people on TV, like last night on one of the channels. I usually listen to Channel 10, NBC local, so I guess it was on Channel 10. Hey, Channel 10. But they had a bit about two people from Roanoke area that were going, and they were going to do marathons all over the countries and be gone for a year, I believe. I hope I'm correct in what I'm saying there, the timeline. And they were doing it for, there's Robert Redford, the decent human being. Don't anybody ever tell me anything different. I got to have somebody to hold on to. Oh, me. I like him. Now, I suppose I should just get off. Anyway, these two people, they were men, I believe, were going out, and this was all to raise funds for cancer awareness and more research. And I thought, my God, I have been in this town since October of '86. I have told it everywhere. The media took things Xerox when I didn't have money to do it or a place to stay. I told it in Atlanta. My husband went with me, had a letter from the FBI, Tesla files, you can cure an illness or create one. So they've always had a cure for anything, and if they don't have one to cure, they can sure come up and create one. And then they can send it off to South Africa and pretend they're like South Africa and give them the AIDS and Ebola, and God knows what they come up with next. And I guess I started out with this with Elizabeth. Which role is she really? She's not the Queen of England. People bow down to her. I know that. I'm going to leave it at that. Why? Ask yourself why they like this woman in spite of me telling the truth. The Brits told me who I am, for goodness sakes, but then I remembered, and the Dempsey family know it's true. Why do you think they were scared to death when I started putting this up on YouTube and Facebook? The district attorney down there, I have a letter I keep on me from him back in some years back now, probably about 2015, 2001, excuse me. I think I wrote some letters. Anyway, I got a letter back from the district attorney in Moulton, and I got a letter from Richard Proctor. I went to school. He was younger than me, but he was a classmate, so to speak. He is now probate judge there, or was back when I wrote the letter to the district attorney. And a nice young man, I would think, and his grandfather, Irwin, was the ones that the twins, where they put me when I was kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, and given the name of Peggy, the twin, and Carl. Both of them were dead. But his grandfather, Price Irvin, I believe is his name, yeah, was the only doctor they had back then, and he delivered the twins. So this is his grandson this year later, and he's probate judge in Moulton. So I wrote him a letter same time I wrote the district attorney in Lawrence County, Moulton, Alabama. And it came back. The only thing they said, they weren't rude or anything, they just couldn't help me at this time. Odd thing, Moulton's always had a post office. Ever since I was a little girl, I can remember they had a post office. So why on earth? I know why they did it. Both the letters, and I still have one of the envelopes that's got it on it, were sent to Huntsville, Alabama post office and postmarked there. And I think it's 2001. So that's a way of sending a message of sorts. It is. So I'm watching them. I know they were telling about the Saudi prince and something about he's supposed to be responsible for killing the journalist or knowing about it, having a hit squad and all this, and what's going to be done if he doesn't shape up and do something about it. Well, that's what I was saying. Hey, look what you've done to me. I've sat here and told you. You've covered it up. And the media, it's about time you handcuff the media and all of U.S. Congress and your former State Department officials. They all know. Every one of them knew about my kidnapping and the takedown of my father, and my father being married to my mom, and you making the Brits fight against themselves.